Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hey, how's everybody doing on this fine Sunday evening? Today, I wanted to take an episode and talk about something percolating through my brain for the last couple of weeks, and something I brought up in the last episode that I interviewed Luke Edwards in, which if you haven't listened to that one, you should listen to it. I think that was a great episode, and I had a great time interviewing Luke, who's just a phenomenal, nonstop badass. But I'm always looking at how I can help lifters improve, help people meet their goals, how I can help people have better lives and live a more courageous life. And one of the things that keeps coming up and I keep seeing has to do with our mentality. Because you got to understand, I've had the opportunity to be one of the greatest powerlifters in the world. I've had the opportunity to talk to so many top strength athletes in Highland Games and strongman and powerlifting. And the whole time I was always searching for the best program or the best technique or the best theories. And what I discovered was that there is none of those. And what I had to do is go back, and instead of looking for something in particular, I decided, well, wait a minute. Maybe I need to start looking for the commonalities between all these great people. And I found that it all goes back to this mental attitude and this willing to actually master themselves. Because I can list the top 10 strongest guys in the world, and they all train differently. They might even all have a little bit different technique. They might all have different theories. But a lot of their mentalities are very similar. And when I'm looking at coaching people, I'm like, okay, you can do this, this, and this. This might help 10%. This might help 5%. This might help 1%. Like, let's go to the lowest hanging fruit first. And let's grab the biggest things first. And then let's start zeroing in on the smaller stuff, which is pretty usual with strength training. When you start training, just about anything you do is going to make you better. And as you get better and better, the window for error gets smaller and smaller. And the little things start meaning more and more and more. Where, you'll see some beginners and they don't want to work on technique. They just want to work on pounding weight and trying to get stronger. And that's fine. They do get stronger. But if they didn't fix their technique, they spent years and years developing bad habits. And at some point, in order to truly get stronger and reach those highest levels, they're going to have to fix their technique. Well, I understand their want to just get stronger. But if you take the time to build that base and technique, you're going to be better off. And as a coach, I feel like that's part of my job, is to help people understand building that base and how important it is. So one of the things I keep coming across lately, and I've been fortunate to talk to some other people that have been in my position of being high level and now they're coaching or they're done with those high level competitive days. And I like to ask them, like, what you did to get where you were at, do you think it was really necessary? Do you think it could have been better? And one of the questions I've been trying to ask people lately is if you could be just as strong as you are now, or maybe stronger, but get there training less, would you do that? And I'm finding that's a hard question for a lot of people. And being in the position I'm in right now, it's hard for me to understand that. So I have to kind of go back to who I used to be when I first started training and go, what would your answer have been then? Because I started out by beating the crap out of myself. And one of the reasons I did beat the crap out of myself is because I had convinced myself that's what I needed to do. When I was young and I read articles or watched things like Pumping Iron, I took away from it what I wanted to take away from it. I looked at it emotionally with preconceived ideas and then focused on those points. And now I've recently went back through some of these other things that I had read and watched. And it's amazing to me how different my takeaway is now compared to what it was. Such as, like, when I watched Pumping Iron the first time when I was a kid, all I remembered was squatting till you fell down, like lifting as hard as you can, grunting and groaning and pounding weights, training hard. Like, the part about feeding yourself, eating lots of meat and protein, yeah, I didn't really pay that much attention to that. I watch it now and go, wow, those guys are kind of lazy, man. Like, they're playing softball and they're sitting on the beach and, like, they were resting. They were recovering. The first time I saw that movie, that didn't even dawn on me slightly. I thought, I got to train 24/7 as many hours a day as I can because I want to get huge. And that hindered me big time. In some ways, it helped. There's a benefit and there's a time for everyone to do that. But it doesn't last that long. And it's only beneficial for a short period, which is why it doesn't last that long. So, and then going back and reading some of the, especially the HIIT, the high intensity, the heavy duty training, like, I completely missed the boat on what that was all about because I read what I wanted to read. You know, I didn't read that you should take off and you have to rest and there's a time for recovery and a time for growth. I read, hey, you got to go heavy and super hard. And when they said 15 or 20 minutes, I completely and utterly blocked that out of my brain. Apparently, I thought they said 4 hours. And so then when I got into powerlifting, luckily I started powerlifting at 27. So I think that helped me out because I was already growing and maturing and seeing the world differently. And then by the time I got into the point where I really was like, okay, you could be good at this. How far are you willing to take it? I had already met some high-level guys and some people that called me out on some of the shit that I was doing and pretty much forced me to go, well, wait a minute, where do you really want to be? And that's kind of the point of the podcast today. Why are you lifting? Why are you training? What is your goal? And are you being honest with yourself about that goal? And are you letting your ego make you a bitch? That's the simplest way that I can figure out how to put this. Because this goes, I'm going to start talking about training, but this goes with life as well. The hardest thing I ever did to become one of the best powerlifters of my time was to back off and not train so much. And I touched on this, and like I said, I touched on this with the interview with Luke Edwards. There was a point where I knew things weren't clicking and I knew something was going wrong. And I thought, well, I'm overtraining. Like, I need more time to rest. I need more time to recover. And that was like, I had a bunch of these little epiphanies in my training. And in the beginning of my career, I didn't trust myself because I looked around and I go, what's everyone else doing? And I didn't have the balls to just go, fuck that. What do I need to do? And luckily I had Dave Tate of Elite FTS. Basically broke it down as simple as possible and said, do you want to be one of the best in the world or do you want to train every day? because they're not both going to happen. And that like really woke me up and went, okay, well, wait a minute. Why am I doing this? You know, am I lying to myself? Do I really not want to be the best in the world, but I want to tell myself that and use that as an excuse for beating the crap out of myself every day? Or do I really want to be one of the best in the world? And if that's the truth, then how far am I willing to take this? Am I only willing to do the stuff that I think is badass or that I feel is badass? Am I only willing to do the things that I think make me tough? Or am I willing to really do what really makes me tough? And for me, and the second part of that process is, wait a minute, why do I need to be in the gym beating the crap out of myself every day? And so my first part of that journey was going, okay, I'm not recovering. The people on my team are not recovering. We're hitting a wall because we're not recovering. How am I going to change this? What am I going to do? Are we going to train less? Am I going to try to eat more? You know, and the first thing is, are you overtrained or under-recovered? You know, that's the first place to start. Well, we were working really hard on our recovery. Everybody was eating pretty good. Unfortunately, I don't sleep for shit, but I was doing the best I could. And so I'm pushing forward. And we're like, okay, I'm doing what I can do to recover, but I'm still not recovering. And it's like, okay, well, do you want to like not train as with less intensity? Do you want to cut out, like train for less duration, less volume? You know, there's a lot of ways to look at it, and there's complexities to all of that. If you're not training with the intensity, are you really still stimulating growth? If you're not stimulating growth, then there's no purpose to it. And that's a whole different rabbit hole. But the point is, something needed to be done. I liked my training sessions. I liked my intensity. I liked training with intensity. There's no way I could keep doing it and obtain my goals. So this is where I started doing recovery sessions and stuff like that. Basically, I didn't fix the problem right away. I started putting Band-Aids on it. And my first Band-Aid was like, okay, I had been talking to Louis Simmons at Westside, and I knew that he was doing these certain things, and I was able to go, I'm going to try doing these recovery sessions, because at least then I'm in the gym every day. But that wasn't solving the problem. The underlying problem was, why do I feel the need to be in the gym and beat the crap out of myself every day? That was how I dealt with life. That was how I dealt with my anger. That's how I dealt with my frustrations. I didn't want to face that fact at that point. So we started with the recovery sessions. We found out they actually worked really good. And then kind of as time progressed, I would start building up. And even if I started recovering better, then my training sessions got more intense and they got a little longer. And I would kid myself like, oh yeah, we're adding more volume in, and they just make up all this crap. And to be honest with you, I was lying to myself. Eventually I went, wait a minute, Chad, there's a problem here. The problem is you have to go to the gym and beat the crap out of yourself. And then you go, oh, well, it's therapy. That's my therapy. No, it's not therapy if it's not helping you. If it's allowing you to deal with the problem, that's not therapy. Therapy like helps you. It makes you better. It makes you so you don't have to do these things. If you have to continually do it, it's not therapy. It's just a damn Band-Aid on a shark bite. Like you're just trying to cover shit up. And so that led me down a path of going deeper into psychology, and actually got me to start being completely and totally honest with myself about what was going on. Why do I need to do this? Like, why am I so damn angry all the time? Like, why do I get so pissed off? Why does everything frustrate me so bad? So it forced me to start working on who I was as a person and to solve those problems so that I could go, wait a minute, no, I'm in the gym because I love it. I'm not in the gym because I need it. And right now in my life, I want to be the strongest son of a bitch I can and going to a meet and putting up a huge, huge number. That's what I'm into. That's what I'm proud to do and to be. And so as I'm going down this path and learning about myself and improving myself and discovering all these things, it's getting easier to see the truth. And I'm no longer lying to myself about the shit that's going on. You know, I'm no lying to myself in terms of like, oh yeah, I need to do this, or it's okay. No, I need to increase my volume. Like I read a study and the study said I need to train more volume. Like I wasn't listening to the bullshit anymore. And granted, this took me a long time because I did most of this on my own. Probably could have done it faster, maybe if I had somebody with me, but I'm a pretty stubborn guy and like I just kind of have to work things out myself. And as I progressed, I was doing a lot better. But the thing is, looking back now, I can see that I was still kidding myself even at my best. And I was still afraid to truly take my own path. Because when I was at the highest level, nobody was training like me. I mean, I was doing a conjugate, but I was doing a conjugate way different than most people. And it was working great for like my team guys. It was working great for them. But now you're talking about guys that sleep normal and had much better recovery for me. I look back now and I go, I should have taken this farther. But my path was already so different than the path I saw everyone else on that I was still kidding myself and I wasn't being truly honest with myself back then either. And now I can be where I can go, no, Chad, you were afraid, man. You were afraid to go too far. Because you're like, yeah, I'm a tough guy. I'm a badass. I can take my own path. But I was still caught up in seeing, in watching where everyone else was. And I was afraid to go further away from that normal path. I had gone away from it, but not far enough. And a lot of the depression I went through, a lot of the suicide stuff, there was a lot of stuff I didn't have to go through. I put myself through it because I was pushing too much on my body and I didn't understand that it's about the system, the human system as a whole. All I thought of was in terms of muscular and skeletal system. And then I thought about the central nervous system. And I kind of had tapped into the fact that, hey, here's what happens when the central nervous system's overtrained and it can cause all these other things. But I didn't really think in terms of every system in the body and how much it truly affected the central nervous system. And I didn't recognize that just recovering is not enough. You need to recover, then you need to let your body have time to grow stronger. I wasn't putting all these things together back then. So I was on the right path and I was doing the right things and it was working for normal, I say normal people that sleep normal and didn't have all the issues that go along with just having absolutely horrible sleep. I should have went further, but I still, as much as I thought I trusted myself and as much as I thought I was taking my own path, I was still connected to what everyone else was doing. And I hadn't fully let that go. And to me, that's a weakness. If you're a true badass, you can let all that go. And you can just do what you need to do. And I'm seeing that today. I'm seeing that with a lot of people that are so caught up in what everyone else is doing. And they're so caught up in finding information that proves what they want to hear. I don't see a lot of people that read and do research with an open mind. Like, hey, I want to find out how to get stronger. And that's it. That's all. I'm just going to start researching. I mean, people are like, well, I like doing lots of volume. I like intensity. I like how this person trains, or I like how this person trains. And they're going into it with preconceived ideas instead of just completely opening their mind to go, wait a minute, I need to go in here and think about all these different things logically. And I need to figure out how all this works best for me. Because even though we're all very similar, we're still all very different. And even I get really frustrated with a lot of these so-called scientific programs that are based on numbers and percentages and this and this and this. And I go, well, you're still just averaging everything out. That's all you're doing is averaging. But there's going to be a lot of people on either ends of that spectrum that need more or need less. So how about we start working on trying to teach people how to figure out what works best for them instead of just telling them this is what you need. Or explaining that, hey, here's a starting point. This works for the average. You need to know that when you start that you're going to have to bend and twist this, and you need to learn to listen to you. And not to mention, as we change, what works at 14 doesn't work at 40, which doesn't work at 60. What worked to get a 225-pound bench might not work to get a 400-pound bench, might not work to get an 800-pound bench. We are continually changing and adapting, and everything in our body, our physiology is changing throughout our life. So you can't tell me that there's this one exact program that's going to work. You need to be able, the faster you can change your program and adapt to what you need, the faster you can make your gains. But the thing here is, it's so, and funny. I love, I'm going to get shit for this from somebody, I'm sure. Men and women are different. That's just a damn fact of life. But interestingly enough, when I started looking at this and started thinking more about this, I'm like, God, dudes are such a pain in the ass, man. Like, because guys' egos are enormous. And, like, they don't want to hear it. Like, if I tell people they're overtrained, if I tell a guy he's overtrained, they get kind of pissed. Like, you can tell, like, it insults them. I'm not overtrained. I can train harder. I can train more. Like, I'm not saying you can't. I believe you could probably beat yourself completely in the ground, and some people might honestly train till they're dead. What I'm saying is that's not getting you what you want. That's not putting you closer to your goal. Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. But they jump to that conclusion. And I'm finding that women are the same, actually. They don't want to be told that they need to back off. They don't want to be told that they need more recovery. It's like an insult to the ego. What it's not, it's like, here's the facts. The facts are your body is not recovering enough. I'm the guy that's telling you the truth. I'm the guy that's going, listen, if you listen to this and you back off a little bit, you're going to go to the meet and be even stronger. You're going to put up even bigger numbers. Like, to me, that means you're the badass because you won the meet. Don't give a shit what you do in the gym. And let me do one caveat here too. This problem is with a specific group of people. And I mean, you could break people down in lots and lots and lots of different ways. But in this instance, we have the people that go to gyms that I say work out and they don't train. I'm not even talking about those people. And then there's the people that do train because they kind of have goals and they want to do something. There's the people that just are not going to do enough. There's the people that have no idea how to push themselves. There's the people that they just don't have that intensity. And those people, man, they still need to learn how to push themselves. They still need to learn how to lift with high intensity. They need to go to Elite FTS, train your ass off seminars, and really learn how to push themselves first. Because overtraining is probably not even an issue for these people because they don't know how. They don't have the capability yet to even push themselves that far. And this is why most newer lifters can do very high volume programs. And even when they do, even if they are putting in a lot of effort, their technique is so horrible. Their central nervous system is not trained for it. So even when they think they're pushing themselves hard, they're really not pushing themselves that hard. So the recovery is not as big an issue yet. And then there's the second group. And the second group are people that are usually already in a fairly high level, middle to upper high level. And they're doing good, but they're getting stuck. And I've seen so many lifters over my lifetime that get stuck in this just above middle. Like, dude, you're pretty goddamn strong. You're like state strong. You're not world class. You're not national or world class strong. I see so many people get stuck in this spot because they continue to think, I need to train harder. I need more volume. I got to do this. I got to do more. And this is some sort of weird blue collar. I don't know where the hell this all came from, but it's stuck in there. These are the people I'm talking about. These are the people that actually know how to push themselves and can push themselves into these horrible places. So forget group 1. This is for group 2. But if you are in group 1, this is something to think about. Once you learn how to push yourself, once your technique gets good, once you've trained your central nervous system, this is going to be a transformation you need to start looking out for and being aware of, that you could become this second group. And you don't want to get stuck there. You don't want to get stuck in that, you're kind of good phase. Like, you want to move past that into you're a badass. And somehow I do know some people that are badasses that still, I fully admitted already that I did too much, but I was still one of the top lifters of my day. So this is another factor that leads me away from all the scientific studies and all that stuff, and where I go, no, it's about people feeling and learning their own bodies, because I think that mental fortitude and how far we can push ourselves does not get enough credit when it comes to athletes. The human mind and how far we can push ourselves is a big key to how successful we're going to be. But even at that, there's a point where I don't care how strong you are mentally, your body's going to quit. So let's not even go to that place. And this is going to roll me into another factor here that I find very interesting, and I have some friends currently that I don't know how to explain. I don't know how I'm going to get through to them, but I hope that I can. When you overtrain, it's not just about the muscles or the bones. It is kind of about your ligaments and tendons, because if these things ligaments and tendons take longer to heal. And if you're not giving them time to heal, then you're doing accumulative stress to them. And it's after that accumulative stress has been going on that shit starts tearing and shit starts ripping off of the bones. It's because you never let it fully heal. You just kept little nick, little nick, little nick, little nick, little nick. It's like me taking a rope that's got a heavy weight on it, and just every day I just go in there and do one little slice with a nice sharp blade. One little slice, one little slice, one little slice. Eventually it's going to break. If I went in there every day and did a slice and then sewed that slice back up and did a slice, and the next day I just sewed it up instead of cutting it again and sewed it up and cut it would probably hang there forever. And then we move on beyond that system where you start talking about your central nervous system. And this is one of the biggest key things, but you have so many other systems, like your circulatory system, your heart, your lungs, you have your lymphatic system, you have your immunity system. You have all these different systems that also have to recover from heavy, intense training. With heavy, intense training, it's not only an impact on your muscles, it's an impact on your entire body. And all of those other systems, except for maybe the reproductive system, plays a role in how your body functions. If you've messed up your digestion, well, now you're not taking in the nutrients as efficiently or as well as you could. So now you just hit you're already training hard. Now you just screwed up your recovery. So it goes on and on and on. But one of the key things that I think people forget, and I'm finding that the more and more people I talk to, the more confirmation I'm getting that people are pushing themselves into depressive states. And I recently did some research. You can look it up on your own. I'm not the guy that's going to list off a bunch of studies, but I found like soccer players and tennis players and bicyclists and all these sports where the therapists are going, yes, these athletes are overtraining and they're getting depressed. And they're getting to where they don't even like their sport and they're not having any fun. And then they stop producing. And the therapists are like, hey, what are we going to do? And they do all their therapy stuff. And they ended up figuring out they're overtrained, man. Give them some time off. Let them recover. Let their body heal up. And then all of a sudden, bam, they're back at training. They're competing well. They're enjoying their sport again. They're much happier. And it's like, okay, so we know this is going on, but there's not a huge recognition for it. And even in the things that I read, I go, one part that we're missing is the choices that you make when you're in a depressive state. So you're overtrained. You need your brain to be functioning properly. You need to be logical. You need to be able to listen to your body and not lie to yourself. But you're in a state where you're making bad decisions. You're in a state where you will easily lie to yourself because your emotions are so ballistic, you just don't want to feel that pain. So now you have a decision. Do I train today or don't I train today? You're like, fuck, life fucking sucks. I got to go to the fucking gym. Okay, you made another bad decision. Now you're sinking yourself deeper in. You're accruing even more of that stress. And you're just digging deeper and you're digging deeper. And then your bad decisions keep digging you deeper and deeper and deeper. And you can't get out of this hole. I haven't heard anyone talking about that. It's a snowball effect. And we need to not even get to that point. We need to start talking about this stuff with healthy athletes that feel good. And we need to start talking about triggers and things that happen and all these different things. And this is what's funny for me is I can go back in my career. And at this point in my life, I don't have problems being honest with myself. If I'm lying to myself, even for an emotional thing, I get pissed off because that never helps me. Lying never helps anyone, any situation, anything. So now I can look back at my career and I can go, oh my Lord. Like I look back and I hear the things that I told myself. And I'm like, I can't, what an idiot. Like, I can't believe I told myself some of these things. I look back of some of the arguments I had with my training partners. And I'm like, oh man, like it was obvious what was going on with me. And I would sit and fight and argue that I was fine, that everything was good, when I knew damn well something was wrong. But I wanted to justify in my mind that I could go train again because that's what got me through. Like beating the crap out of myself made me feel at least a little better. And it got me away from the shit that I felt the rest of the time. And one of the funny things about this is when I'm in severe depression, I don't take compliments well anyway. I never have. But when I'm in depression, there comes a point where compliments actually hurt. Like, I don't feel good about myself at all. So somebody telling me something good about me just inflames everything. And so you'd rather go to the gym and beat the crap out of yourself because you don't see yourself as worth that much. And at least you're like, well, you know what? At least I took this pain. At least I dealt with this. At least I toughened up and I'm a badass and I'm a tough guy and I can get through anything. And that's bullshit. It's bullshit. I mean, flat out, it's bullshit. Your ego is making you a bitch. My ego made me a bitch. The tough, and this is one of the epiphanies I had that allowed me to stop training so much and be okay with not being in the gym all the time and looking at my training with an objective, logical view, which is funny because I back off. If you were to track the training that I did throughout my career, the stronger we got, the less we trained. We kept adding days off because we needed them, because we were stronger. We were pushing ourselves further. Every time I backed off, everybody on the team got stronger. Yet there's times where it took me a long time to accept adding another day in and to accept adding another day in, even though I had the logical proof right there in front of me. I had it written down. I had everyone's PRs. My team was really good about how are you sleeping? How are you feeling? Do you have a sense of well-being? How's your appetite? What's your flexibility like? How's your mobility work going? We had all these questions that we were always asking each other to see if we were overtrained and we needed more rest. And as good as I was at that, and as good as I was about backing off, I still had that emotional crap that was blocking me from taking it as far as I should have taken it. And I look back now and I'm like, wow. Like, how could I look at something and have the logic right there in front of me and still lie to myself and go, well, our volume, I know our volume needs to go up. And looking at it in dumb ways. Like, I wrote an article for Elite FTS once. If you train exactly the same but you get stronger, you actually increase your volume tremendously. Yet people still go, oh, I need to up my volume. And I'm like, did you get stronger? They're like, yeah. I go, well, you did. Why do you think you need to do it even more now? Like, you already upped your volume. And they don't want to see it. They will actually lie to themselves or completely ignore shit, giving themselves a reason to go after what they emotionally want. And that's going to the gym and beat the crap out of themselves. Because if you to actually go, hey, wait a minute, why do I need to be in the gym? Why do I need to push myself so hard? Why do I do this? Why? I'm basically sabotaging myself. I'm sabotaging my goals. And why? Because we don't want to face the fact, we don't want to go dig inside ourselves and figure out why we need to do that. So, the reason I was able to change, the reason I was able to start backing off, the reason now I can train based on what my body needs alone. If I get up and it doesn't feel right, I don't train and I don't worry about it anymore. This is not a skill I had. And it was a skill. You would be amazed how many top lifters I've talked to that could do this. And even when I was coming up, when all these things first started coming to me, I'm like, but how can you do that? Like, no, if your program says you have to train, you have to train. And I had top guys, the best guys in the world, going, yeah, but I just didn't feel it, so I just went home. Or guys going, yeah, I had my baby. I decided I wanted to go play with my baby that night. Or guys that went in and they're like warming up and they're like, man, something's weird in my back. It's not worth pushing it. I'm cool for tonight. Like, I could not understand this. But I also couldn't ignore the fact that these guys are the best lifters in the world. And it was in Highland Games and in Strongman. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, it's granted, it took me a long time to figure all this out. But even when they first told me, like, I'm baffled and I can't understand it and can't grasp it, but at least it stayed in my head. And I kept thinking about it and kept thinking about it. And I'm like, man, I can't ignore what these guys are saying. That's stupid. That would be dumb to ignore what these guys are saying. So the reason, the epiphany that allowed me to take this path was I consider myself a badass. I consider myself a tough guy. I consider myself the guy that can get the job done no matter what it costs. This is probably some genetics. It's probably a lot my upbringing. You grow up in the Midwest and you grow up in a blue collar skilled labor family. Like, that's a big thing. The fact that you can create and build stuff is a big deal. The fact that you can meet any deadline, the fact that it doesn't matter how hot it is, how cold it is, how wet it is, you're going to get the job done. Like, that's something to be proud of. And I think in my early career of lifting, that actually helped me. But then there's a point where it becomes a hindrance and you have to control it. So I thought, okay, listen, Chad, if you're such a fucking badass, if you're such a fucking tough guy, why can't you back off? It's been proven to you that less is going to be more. And every time you've actually backed off, you've gotten stronger. Everybody you train has gotten stronger when you back off. Why are you having so much fucking trouble backing off if you're such a fucking tough guy? That hit me hard when I had that little epiphany. And I thought, that's pretty interesting. Is the toughest guy the guy that beats himself up in the gym, or is the toughest guy the guy that goes on the platform and does some crazy sick ass number that no one's ever done? I say it's the guy at the competition. Is the tough guy the guy that does what everybody else does and beats himself up and doesn't really meet his potential? Or is the tough guy the guy that goes, wait a minute, just because everyone does it doesn't make it right. And it definitely doesn't make it right for me. So I'm going to go my own way, and I'm going to figure this out. And I'm going to end up being better. Who's the tough guy? To me, the tough guy is the guy that goes, screw everyone else. I'm going to follow my heart. I'm going to follow my path, and I'm going to do it the way I need to do it. That's the tough guy. So I think what we have to do, and I'm continually trying to figure out, how do I reach these people? How do I get people to understand this? Because at the very least, very least, try it. I mean, I know people that have been doing the same damn program for years. And they're like, yeah, I put 5 pounds on my bench. I'm like, well, what did you bench? They're like, 315. I'm like, dude, like, if you're one of the best in the world and like you put up a world record, like another 5 pounds is a lot. The level you're at, 5 pounds isn't shit. And you went like 1 or 2 years to do that? Like, really? And you didn't try nothing else up. You just kept hammering away at the same thing. And you just made excuses. Well, it's genetics. Well, they got a better coach, or they have a better. All you did is make excuses why you weren't more successful when you kept doing the same fucking thing. Like, you got nothing to lose. You've made no real gains. Back off. Because the fact of the matter is, everybody's so goddamn scared that if they take a week off, they're going to lose something. But almost everyone I know, if I go that has actually taken a week off for like a vacation or something, they always come back stronger. Always. So what do you got to lose by backing off? I don't think it's about losing anything, though. I think it's about fear. What will I do if I'm not in the gym? Hey, read a book. Educate yourself. Like, spend some time with your girlfriend. Spend some time with your wife. Spend some time with your kids. Get a hobby. Like, find some other way to expand your mind. Like, train your mind as much as you're training your body. Like, go ride a bike. Get a little cardio in. Like, there's all kinds of things you can do. But I think a lot of people are afraid. They're afraid to go out and do that. They're afraid to not be in the gym. They're afraid to look inside themselves. I mean, we're so filled up in this society. Like, the people don't just sit anymore. They just sit on your porch and watch a sunset and think about some shit. Like, everybody has to have something in their hands. They have to have something to do. We get bored if it's silent for 5 fucking minutes. And I truly believe that in the vast majority of cases, this is why people won't back off. But I'm still stuck with, how do I get people to realize this? How do I get people to go, man, Chad, that's not a bad idea. Like, why wouldn't I try that? And to get people to go, wait a minute, have I been lying to myself? Am I really being honest with myself? What really are my goals? And what am I really willing to give to them? You know, you're willing to go to the gym 5 and 6 days a week for multiple hours and beat the crap out of yourself. But you're not willing to go less and get stronger and feel better? I mean, I don't care who you are. The fact of the matter is, it's stimulation of growth, recovery from that training, then allowing the body time to grow. This means you should not be training, but maybe once every 3 days. Maybe. That's for people that have really good genetics and really good sleep and really eat well and are really on top of their recovery. Most people won't even do that. And it was funny because you go back through all the education I've given myself. They always talk about 24 or 48 hours. Well, yeah, that's probably for recovery of the muscles and the skeletal system. That rarely covers the central nervous system. And that doesn't speak anything about growth. That's just recovery. Now, once you're recovered, now your body can actually go, hey, we got overstimulated. We need to pack on some muscle. We need to get some more strength. So that whole 24 to 48 hour thing is kind of bullshit. Yet it's all sunk in and it's all been there. And the funny part is this is not new information. I'm not Albert Einstein that came up with a whole new theory of relativity. All I'm doing is tweaking ideas that have already been out there for years and years and years. It's just funny how the really good stuff, the really good information kind of goes in waves. So it'll come and get a little popularity and then it'll fade away. And then it'll come and gain a little popularity. But the problem is it gains the popularity because like one or two guys really understand it. And then they blow up and they get huge. And then everybody wants to pay attention to it. But then people start reading it again and they're reading it and they're not understanding what's being said. They're not understanding the program and how it works. They're taking the parts of the program that they want. And I've seen this over and over and over with friends I know that developed programs that got really popular. And how many people call them up saying their program, it doesn't work, it's bullshit. And the first question is, well, did you actually follow what it said? And there's always, well, no, I didn't do that part. I don't like that part. Or, yeah, your percentages were too low, so I went heavier. And it's like, well, then you didn't do the program. So don't bag on the program. You did whatever the fuck you wanted to do. So don't say the program didn't work when you don't do it. It's just interesting to me. Excuse me. And then, as I'm thinking about this and as I'm thinking about the things I had to delve into myself of why I had to train every day, I started looking at this everything, the same perspective, I guess I would say, in everyday life. And I go back to being from a Midwest blue-collar upbringing, and probably just me being who I am. Like, being tough was a big deal to me. And that was a big part of why I struggled to be able to not go to the gym every day. Things like, I remember when I was younger, I actually did a lot of babysitting through high school and stuff because I wanted to do sports. So I didn't want a regular job, but I needed a job that had flexible hours that I could pick and choose and make extra money at. And I always liked kids anyway, and kids seemed to like me because, I don't know, I was all about letting them do stuff they probably shouldn't have been able to do. But I'm like, they're boys. Like, who cares? They could do this shit. And so I raised money that way. But I was thinking about it, and when I was younger, probably even in my 20s and early 30s, like, if there was a baby, I'm like, yeah, they're babies, don't want to hold them, want nothing to do with it. Like, that's not tough, that's not manly. And the fact of the matter is, I was lying to myself about that too. Like, today, if my friends have a baby, I'm like, oh man, I want to hold the baby. Granted, I get bored pretty fast because they don't do anything. But it's nice to hold the baby. It's nice to, when they grab onto your finger and you can make them laugh or smile. Normally I'm over it pretty quick, and I'm like, all right, let me know when they're 2, because that's when they really start getting fun. But I held myself back from doing that because, to me, that wasn't a tough, badass thing to do. And really, if you're tough and badass, none of that shit matters to you. You do what you feel. And the same thing with, like, writing poetry. There was a lot of my life I didn't tell people I wrote poetry. I just wrote it. It was for me, which is okay because I'm kind of a loner. So I just do my own things. I didn't post any of it. And then eventually I'm like, who gives a shit? Like, I like doing it. I don't give a fuck who knows it. That's up to them to deal with whatever they want. And it's amazing in life how much shit we lie to ourselves about. And especially being an American and talking about freedom and stuff. It's like, dude, you're putting your own shackles on, man, because you have a preconceived idea of whatever. For me, that preconceived idea was this is tough and this is macho. And I've completely changed that. I'm like, wait a minute, what really is tough? Trust me, you want to go blows with me? Let's go. I kind of enjoy fighting. Legally wise, I try to stay away from it these days, but to me, that's a great challenge and a rush that you can't feel any other way. But I'm also, if I'm in a relationship and the person I'm in a relationship with needs me to be more open with my feelings, I'm going to go, okay, maybe by society standards, maybe that's not macho. Maybe that's not tough. But you know what? I'm in a relationship with that person and I love that person. So I'm going to do this because to me, that's the right thing to do. And that's what being a good man is. So I'm going to do it no matter how hard it is. And that's what's really going to make me tough. You know, it's easy to have a family and work shit tons of hours and tell yourself that it's because I got to support my family. I got to support my family. When in reality, your family is doing okay and you could spend more time with them. You just don't want to spend more time with them. Like, because then you got to deal with the emotional stuff and everything else. And you just don't want to deal with it. So that doesn't make you tough working all them hours. Like, the badass is going to go, okay, man, like I'm having trouble dealing with my kids at this age, or I'm having a hard time with my wife, but I'm going to work it out. I'm not going to avoid the situation and tell myself I got to work all these hours. And I'm trying to think of some more examples of this right now, but I think you guys get the point. Being tough and being a badass is more about doing the right thing, and it's more about doing the hard thing. It's easy for me to go train hard in the gym. I like training hard in the gym. It's fun. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's tough, but it's fun too. So the hard thing is going, Chad, you need to back off. Like you're only going to lift once this week because you're pretty beat up. That sucks. That's hard to do. But what is my goal? Does the tough guy do what he wants to do, or does the tough guy do what's going to get him closer to his goal? Does the tough guy do what's right? And what's right is to deal with your own issues so that you don't have to take it out in the gym. And you're going to find that you love the gym that much more afterwards. At least I did. And that goes with everything else. It goes with sometimes guys bury themselves in work, and they bury themselves in work because they don't want to deal with the other stuff. I know guys that maybe want a family or want kids and they can't find that, so they bury themselves in all kinds of other stuff so that they don't have to feel those emotions. And it's like, well, dude, if what you really want is the family and stuff, then you need to figure out your emotions and you need to put yourself in situations where you might find the right person. So don't think you're tough for ignoring your feelings and ignoring what's right. That's not tough. That's not a badass. A badass does what needs to be done. And they don't lie to themselves about it, and they don't cover it up. So I've talked for 54 minutes about this subject. I really honestly didn't think it would go this long. To wrap it up, I think we need to change our perspective. We need to start looking at what our goals are, what's really going to be there, or what's really going to get us there, I should say. We need to stop lying to ourselves. And I truly think we're the easiest person to lie to, which seems weird to me. You'd think we would just naturally be honest with ourselves, but we're not. we need to step back sometimes and go, wait a minute, what is our goal? Do I really want that goal? What really is it going to take to get there? If I'm not doing those things, why am I not doing those things? I mean, you could be lying to yourself. I've had lots of people come up to me and go, Chad, I want you to train me. I want to be the best in the world. I want to bench this. I want to do that. And it's like, and I can tell right away. I'm like, no, you don't. You want to come in here and you want to do this. I see lots of people in the gym that get into powerlifting, get into groups, and you can tell that they're really only there for camaraderie. They're there because that's a place that they end up fitting in, and they end up being part of a team, and it becomes this whole social deal, which is fine. That's great. Like it's better than going and hanging out at a bar. Like you're actually in there training and doing something and pushing yourself and testing your body, and that's awesome. But don't lie to yourself. If that's what you like about it, then accept that and be happy with that. Because I think it's cool. You know, if it's that way in any part of life, like you don't have to want to be the absolute best. You don't have to want to take it to the farthest limit. But if you're going to do something, do it to the best of your ability. And if you can go, hey, I'm here because, man, I like these guys. I like hanging out with these guys. You know, I like going to meets. And I'm only trying to hit this or that, but I'd like to hit that. And I mean, I'd like to keep progressing. Well, then you know what your goal is. And you can go, listen, maybe I should take a couple, you know, maybe I'm overtraining a little bit. But it's not to the point where it's affecting it's not pushing me into depression. It's not messing my body up, you know, like a mild overtraining. No, scratch that. Don't even forget that. Overtraining sucks, no matter how you do it. It's okay to do every once in a while to learn how to test your body and test your mind, but it's no good. But if you go, hey, I'm in the gym. This is a camaraderie thing. I like being here. I like these guys. I enjoy pushing myself. Well, then just go, okay, I'm going to come in, but I'm going to drop the volume or I'm going to drop the intensity so that I can still fit in with this group and still make some gains, but I'm not as specific as going crazy. And it's kind of the same thing with nutrition. Like people I see, and this is often women for some reason, but men do it. I want to lose weight. I want to look like that. I want this. I want that. And I go, well, then why aren't you doing it? Like, it's not rocket science. You know how to do it. Well, because I like to eat too. Well, then you don't really want to lose that weight, do you? Well, yeah. No, you want a magic pill and that's not reality. So stop lying to yourself and go, listen, I would like to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds. Find a reasonable goal and then go, okay, I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to change my nutrition so that I can meet that goal. But I like eating. I enjoy eating. I enjoy going out to eat. So then if you be honest with yourself, you can find that middle ground and you can clean up your nutrition and probably lose a little bit of weight. And maybe you're not going to have that rock hard 6-pack, but you can find a place where it's like, hey, I like to eat, but some of the stuff that I eat's not going to make me this ripped up dude. So if my goal is to just lean out and look whatever you consider good, then here it is. And I mean, I do that at my age right now, not even my age, but who I am. Like, I don't care if I look like a bodybuilder. Like, I don't care if I'm that lean, because I know that in order to get that lean, I know what my nutrition would have to look like. And I don't really want to eat like that yet. So I go, hey, I'm a little bigger than I want to be. I need to lose some weight. I need to lean out a little bit, but I'm not looking for anything crazy. And then I adjust my diet where they both meet. I don't have to eat super strict, but I'm not going to look super lean. But if you just be honest with yourself, you actually have a chance of things working out and you have a chance of meeting your goals. So you have to be honest with yourself about your goals. Then you have to be honest with yourself about what it's going to take to get there. And you have to be honest with yourself about what you're willing to do to get there. And again, I go back to beating the crap out of yourself, because that's what I see the most. When I'm most of the time when I'm talking about athletes and training and stuff, I'm talking about the higher end ones. Because quite honestly, like with my patients, I have patients that are up there in age, 60s, 70s, whatever. And their goal is quality of life. Well, quality of life is easy to get. It's about getting in better shape, getting stronger, and getting in some cardio. It's pretty easy to train to achieve those goals. It's not a huge complicated thing. If you want to be one of the best in the world, it gets way more complicated. So, but again, if I have a patient who comes in and they're like, I want to lose 40 pounds. I'm like, do you really want to lose 40 pounds? How soon do you want to do it? And they have unrealistic expectations, or they're kidding themselves. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. What if you lost 20 pounds, but you put on more muscle? And what if we took your nutrition and tweaked this, but still let you have this? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that would be good too. And now we have a more realistic goal, and we're realistic with the expectations, and we're realistic about what it's going to take. Like, no, you can't not ever have bad things, but you do need to limit your bad things to this that you eat. Not bad, but sugary, unhealthy stuff. So if you're going to get into a sport, if you have a goal, even outside of a sport, remember that one of the most foundational things to do is your mentality and your perspective. If you're going to lie to yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure. And even if you're not setting yourself up for failure, which is interesting with some of the lifters in my position, where we look back and I go, man, I was nowhere near as strong as I could have been. Like, I don't have any regret. I put up the 4th highest total in history in my day. I have multiple world records. I'm proud of what I did. But because I want to coach, because I do coach, and I do have online clients, and I do have in-person clients, and I do want to help people, and I do want my Courage Barbell channel to go, and I want this podcast to go. I really want to help people. I look back over my career and I go, what did I do right and what did I do wrong? What knowledge can I take from my experience to be the best coach that I can be, to help other people achieve what I achieved, only quicker and safer, and have them go beyond what I did? So that's why I look back over my career. It's not if I coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of thing. It's like, how can I help the future people that I'm going to coach? But almost so many of the top guys that I've talked to go, oh yeah, if I would have done this, I definitely could have done more. And in most cases, I think it's letting their bodies rest and backing off. We get, especially strength athletes, we're so aggressive. And that's probably true about most top athletes. You don't get to be one of the best in the world by not being aggressive. But you get so aggressive and you get so wrapped up in this driven mentality that sometimes we don't want to see, we don't want to believe, and we don't want to recognize that our body can still only do so much. It can only recover so fast. It can only grow so fast. So that's something to think about. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this short 15-minute one that I had planned. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up at an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I want to do more podcasts like this. I have more awesome guests coming up. And man, I just want to see everybody. I want to see everybody set some goals and achieve some goals. And especially in this society, I think that's something we very badly need. We need people to understand and feel what it feels like to do something that you didn't think you could do, and to push yourself and test yourself. And the feeling of that is just something that I think helps people grow and makes people better. And the journey to that is something that just makes better humans. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Please check out Courage Barbell YouTube channel. Check out my Instagram, which is just Chad Eichs, AICHS. Please share this podcast with other people that you know that you think could learn something from this or would enjoy this. And I'm going to let all you guys go. And until next time, I'm out of here.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit CourageBarbell.com. Until next time.